All right, today we're going to put on our detective hats. We're diving headfirst into a mystery that's 2,000 years old, a code hidden in the book of Revelation, and we're going to focus on just a few really cryptic verses. Now, according to the source material we're looking at, these verses aren't about predicting some far-off future. They're actually describing the violent historical collapse of two ancient empires.
Our whole investigation kicks off right here, with the sound of that third trumpet. You've got this great star falling from heaven, burning like a torch. I mean, it's intense, dramatic imagery. But what does it actually mean?
So the prophecy actually gives this star a name, wormwood. And to understand what that name signifies, our source gives us a very specific historical key. It all comes down to the chaos and the bloodshed of the First Jewish-Roman War, this absolutely brutal conflict that raged from 66 to 73 AD.
And this, right here, is the central puzzle of the third trumpet. Are we talking about a literal asteroid, some kind of cosmic event, or is the prophecy really a code pointing to something else entirely? Come on, let's crack it open.
Well, according to this interpretation, wormwood isn't a physical object at all. It's a symbol, and it represents the deep, profound bitterness of being conquered. You know, that feeling of living under the oppressive thumb of the Roman Empire, which was about to unleash just unimaginable destruction on Judea.
And what's so interesting is that this whole wormwood symbol wasn't just invented for Revelation. Nope. Centuries before, the prophet Jeremiah used the exact same image. He warned that if the people turned away from their law, they'd be fed wormwood and water of gall, which is just a poetic way of saying the bitter taste of judgment and being crushed by your enemies.
This leads to a really powerful conclusion from our source. When the people famously declared, "We have no king but Caesar," they essentially rejected their own sovereignty. And in doing that, they chose a path that would lead them directly to this prophetic bitterness. They traded the water of life for the harsh, poisonous water of Roman domination.
Okay, so let's move on to the next trumpet and see how this all builds, because believe me, the imagery is about to get even stranger. The fourth trumpet sounds, and all of a sudden the very lights of heaven, well, they start to go out. What in the world could that possibly mean?
Just think about that for a second. A third of the sun, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, all struck, all darkened. The day loses a third of its light, and the night does too. It's a picture of absolute cosmic chaos.
So here's the interpretive leap we have to make. Our source argues we're not dealing with astronomy here, we're talking about politics. In ancient prophecy, you see, celestial bodies were often used as symbols for earthly powers. The sun could be an emperor, the moon a queen or a high priest, and the stars were all the other leaders. So a darkened sky, that's a powerful metaphor for a government in total collapse.
Theologian Austin Farrar just summed it up perfectly. Looking back at the actual historical record of this period, he described the rapid, violent deaths of Roman emperors and the assassination of Jewish high priests as quenched suns and darkened stars.
Okay, so if the sun represents the highest authority in the land, let's take a look at what was happening to the ultimate authority of that time, the Roman emperor. Does the history actually line up with the prophecy?
You bet it does. The year 69 AD is literally known to historians as the year of the four emperors. After Nero died, Rome just plunged into a bloody, chaotic civil war. In one single year, 3 different emperors were violently killed or forced to commit suicide. The sun of the Roman world wasn't just darkened, it was being snuffed out over and over again in a cycle of pure chaos.
But here's the thing. The prophecy says only a third part of the lights go out, not all of them. And at the exact same time Rome was tearing itself apart, a parallel and just as vicious civil war was erupting inside the walls of Jerusalem.
Inside Jerusalem, different zealot factions were literally locked in a death struggle for control of the city. You had warlords like John of Giscala, Eleazar ben Simon, and Simon bar Giora battling it out in the streets. They overthrew the established leadership, and they even murdered the former high priest. So, while the Roman sun was being struck, the moon and stars of Judea's own government were falling from the sky.
And this is the absolutely stunning parallel, right? The prophecy of a third of the heavenly bodies going dark maps perfectly onto the simultaneous collapse of leadership in both the Roman Empire and the Jewish state. It was a perfect storm of political breakdown.
But just when you think you've decoded these two trumpets, the text hits you with a terrifying cliffhanger. As horrible as the bitterness of wormwood and the chaos of failing governments were, that was just the warm-up act. An angel cries out across the sky, "Woe, woe, woe!" A threefold curse, one for each of the trumpets that's still to come. It's basically the prophecy yelling, "You think that was bad? Oh, you have no idea what's coming next."
And according to our source, these three woes correspond directly to the final bloody stages of the Jewish-Roman War. The first woe, that's the brutal Roman siege of Jerusalem. The second is the city's complete and utter destruction. And the third, well, that's the final judgment that follows. The chaos was only the beginning.
And that's the chilling question Revelation just leaves hanging in the air. The prophecy paints a picture of a world tipping into total darkness, where political collapse and foreign oppression are just the prelude to an even bigger catastrophe. It forces us to ask, if this was just the overture, what could the final act possibly look like?